Back in the day when I used to play golf, I had a buddy who would go with me, and we were just mediocre players. This guy believed with all his heart that if he would just buy these awesome, expensive clubs, that he would become an amazing golfer. Just overnight, it would be awesome. People would cheer for him, and he would be quitting his day job at Blockbuster Video, because that's when this was, when Blockbuster Video was around. So he saved up, got the clubs, we went out, he was excited, and he sucked. He absolutely sucked, because it's not the clubs, it was him. He sucked. And the same thing happens to those of you who go out and buy these super expensive cameras, thinking that now you are a professional, because the club doesn't make you a professional, and neither does the camera. You make yourself professional. And so today I'm going to talk about 5 myths about buying expensive cameras that make you professional, which they don't. There are 5 myths that keep coming back in the comments from my viewers that I would like to debunk about buying an expensive camera and what makes a camera professional and what makes you professional. Because apparently to a lot of people, a specific type of camera does make you professional, and now I want to debunk that. So number 1 on my list that I have right now is the more megapixels you have, the more professional you are. And I bring this up because somebody made a comment in one of my videos this past week that said 20 megapixels is not professional. You need 30 or 45 megapixels. First of all, let's back up and talk about what makes a professional photographer professional. Money. If you're getting paid, you're professional. If you're not getting paid, you're not professional. You're a hobbyist. That's the difference. And so what is making you money? Now, when I started my company Visible Tour 10 years ago, I started with the T2i, which is a crop sensor beginner camera by Canon. This was 18 megapixels. The quality was decent. Nobody really could tell a huge difference, yet this camera now could sell for about $150. There are cell phones more expensive than this camera. What made this professional? Well, not the name, not the demographic that we're buying it. This guy made it professional, charged about $2,500 per job using that camera. That's what made it professional, not the camera, the person creating the image with the camera, because again, the camera is the tool. So when somebody tells you that 20 megapixels or 24 megapixels is not professional, holy cow, let me tell you the thousands of dollars that I charged when I was shooting with 18 megapixels of a crop sensor camera. If you're telling me that I need 32 or 45 megapixels or higher for professional work to make money, that is not true. You can use any camera. It is, again, a tool. Debunked. Myth number 2 about buying an expensive camera. Oh, Jared, I need to get a full frame and not a crop sensor. Well, guess what's looking at me right now? It's a crop sensor. It is the Canon R7. It is an amazing camera, and it has been my studio camera now for about a year, and I love it. And there is so much professional about this. The images are amazing. And yes, with the full frame, you are getting less noise because of the pixel sizes. But honestly, again, let's go back to the T2i days when I had a $500 camera, making several $1,000s on jobs with that. This next one is kind of iffy, and I teeter on both sides of this fence. A professional camera needs a dual card slot. Well, as much as a dual card slot is nice and welcomed, you do not. The majority of my career, I have not shot with one until the Canon R6. The Canon EOS R had a single slot, and I used that for a couple of years professionally. The Canon 6D had a single slot. Obviously, the T2i had a single slot card. And what did you people do 20 plus years ago when you used film? You had one slot for film. It's not like you shot twice on film. And I'm telling you, you screw up film, you screw up. You expose it accidentally by opening up a door, you're screwed. So what did you do there? Did that make you less professional because now you had one roll of film and you couldn't do dual film? I don't even think that's a thing. That's how ridiculous it is. Now, obviously we know redundancy is awesome, but there's gotta be a point where it's just too redundant, right? And I'm gonna be redundant now by saying that. So you have the redundancy of cards. If one fails, the other one doesn't. And then you've got that as a backup. But then what if both fail? Do you need a second camera? Do you need a second shooter? I mean, it could keep going on. And at some point you have to just trust the technology to a point. Now, because there are dual card slots in cameras nowadays, I do welcome them, but I don't freak out if I grab an EOS R and I'm using it professionally, because buy nice or buy twice when it comes to your SD cards or your CFast cards, because that quality is the weakest link of the whole thing. So just like we did 25 years ago when it was film, you buy the best film, well, you buy the best SD card for that, so you have less failure. This one made me laugh a little, and I'm trying to see where this person came from, but they said, I'm not professional because I don't have a battery grip. I have shot all day doing real estate photography and getting some 4K 60 frames per second video in with the Canon R6 Mark II, all on one battery. I don't need a battery grip. I have actually never owned a battery grip. Would I welcome one? Yeah, sure. So if somebody's watching here, a company that wants to send me one, sure. But I do not need a battery grip at this point, unless I get the R5C, because I heard that thing is a battery sucker. So here is the Canon R6 Mark II without a battery grip. And the argument I get is, how do you get those vertical shots? And I'm thinking, like this? I don't think that's very difficult. It's not very hard. It's lighter. And yeah, I don't know where the complaint is. Now, if you're an event photographer, like a wedding photographer, yeah, maybe that is the case to go, because then you don't have to change out batteries as much. But really, in that point, I think you're gonna have enough breaks during the day that it's not a big deal. In my case, when it comes to architectural photography or anything less than a few hours at a time, you're not gonna be changing out batteries. This one gets me, and again, I did have a video on this a few weeks back, but there is the myth about your camera and buying the best of the best lenses. And in this case, it would be the Canon L series lenses. This is the 15 to 35 RF 2.8 lens. This is an L series lens for Canon. Yes, it is super sharp. It is awesome, and I love it. It is a great tool for what it is. But no, you do not need this lens to be professional and to get the professional shots. I am stopping down to f8 most of the time when it comes to architecture. And if you're taking a mediocre average lens minus flare issues and you're stopping it down, nobody's gonna tell with sharpness. For years and years, I used the Rokinon 2.8 12mm fisheye lens, all manual, and I did professional work with it. This lens was used to do 360 interactive tours, and I charged a ton of money on it. This is a $250 lens. It is not expensive by all means, yet it created a product that someone paid quite a bit of money for, and it was a tool again. Nothing more, like a tool, and so are you. I'm a tool. We're all tools. It's tool time. Now, there is a YouTuber out there. Her name is Caitlin James. She specializes with wedding photography. Now, I am not a wedding photographer. I do not have a desire to get into wedding photography, but I do follow her because I like her style and her personality and her excitement about photography. This woman makes six figures easily, maybe even beyond that each year. And guess what camera she's using? The R6. 20 megapixels. The R6 is what she's using. For those of you that believe that megapixels do matter, well, I would challenge you to start using the right lens for the right job instead of trying to crop in all the time. Be intentional in how you get the shot, because if your intentionality comes in post-production on how you crop later on, then your vision really isn't there. Thanks for sticking around this long, and if you want some more content by me, well, Google says to check out those videos there, and you'll probably like them, because unfortunately, Google knows more about us than we do.